Ever feel like life's coming at you like a freight train? Social media screaming for your attention, work piling up, or that nagging sense you're not where you're supposed to be? Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who faced war and betrayal, wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." Translation? You can't control the storm, but you can control how you stand in it. Whether you're a 20-something drowning in likes and pressure or a parent juggling a career and a million responsibilities, Stoicism offers a way to find calm, take charge of your emotions, and rise above setbacks. Today we're diving into practical strategies to live with purpose. No fluff, just real tools to build a stronger you. Try this. For the next 24 hours, practice one Stoic principle we'll share today. Hit subscribe, drop your experience in the comments, and join our community to master life's chaos together. Let's get started. 1. Know your values. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. Strength doesn't come from controlling the world, it comes from mastering yourself. In a chaotic world where everything shifts by the minute on your news feed, knowing your core values isn't just a strategy, it's survival. I remember talking to a Marine veteran who served in Fallujah. He wasn't the philosophical type. But after coming home after losing 2 close friends and living with PTSD, he started journaling every morning. One day he wrote, "I can't control what happened to me, but I can control what defines me." That is Stoicism. You might work in a polished office, wear a suit, sit through meetings with air conditioning, but the battlefield hasn't gone anywhere. Office politics, KPI pressure, performative leadership, they will eat away at your character if you don't know who you are and what you stand for. A friend of mine, Julia, worked at a tech startup. She was sharp, talented, well-liked. But one day she said, "I feel like I'm succeeding at something I don't believe in." The product her company built was designed to keep users glued to their screens, especially kids. There was a quiet voice in her growing louder every day, "I can't be part of this." So she quit. No drama. No big speech. Just a quiet certainty, the kind that comes from someone who knows their values aren't up for sale. Epictetus taught, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Knowing who you are is like walking through fog with a compass in your hand. The surroundings may be unclear, but you still know which direction is right. Imagine you have a friend, let's call her Sarah, and every time you meet she's gossiping, criticizing people, spreading negativity. At first you laugh it off. But then you notice that after each hangout you feel tired, off, like you've stepped away from the person you're trying to become, someone grounded in kindness, integrity, growth. A Stoic doesn't judge Sarah. They simply ask, does this relationship help me live in line with my values? If the answer is no, a boundary needs to be set. You might say, "Hey Sarah, I'm not really comfortable talking about people this way. Can we shift the conversation?" No blame. No drama. Just a solid stance anchored in personal values. Seneca once said, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." The modern world is full of turbulence, from the economy to relationships to our own inner state. If you haven't clearly defined your destination, meaning your values, you'll get swept up by whatever trend, pressure, or temptation passes your way. I once asked a CEO in Silicon Valley what kept him from falling apart during the toughest time of his company's near collapse. He said, "I never make decisions from fear. I make them based on what I believe is right, even if it costs me everything." That's how he saved both the company and himself. So how do you start? You don't need a grand plan. Take 5 minutes today. Write down 3 core values. Do it by hand. Keep it simple. Something like, "I don't lie. I keep my word. I won't sacrifice character for comfort." Then take a hard look at your current relationships, your job, your daily habits. Is anything misaligned with those values? If so, that's where a boundary or an exit is needed. Life won't always be fair, but you can be fair with yourself. No one else gets to define what matters to you. And once you're clear on that, the world outside can shake all it wants. Inside, you'll stand firm like a mountain. So here's the final question I'll leave you with today. Are you living like someone you respect? 2. Practice saying no with confidence. Saying no isn't rejection, it's alignment. When you start honoring your time, your energy, your emotional bandwidth, something shifts. You're no longer running on fumes just to meet expectations that were never yours to begin with. Seneca said it plainly, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." The same applies to craving approval, validation, or the illusion of being the reliable one at the cost of your sanity. I've seen it over and over. People overextend themselves because they're afraid of disappointing others. Especially younger professionals, fresh in their careers, terrified that saying no means burning a bridge. But here's the truth, real bridges don't burn when tested. The ones that do? They were built on expectations, not understanding. A buddy of mine, James, is a trauma nurse. One of the best. For years he never turned down a shift. Holidays, overnights, double weekends, he said yes to everything. Until one day he collapsed at work. Not from illness. From burnout. When I visited him, he said something I'll never forget. I thought I was being strong by always saying yes. But it turns out, strength was learning how to say no, before life made the decision for me. We grow up thinking no is rude, ungrateful, selfish. But no can be the most honest, most respectful word you offer someone. It says, I know my limits, and I respect you enough to be clear. Epictetus wrote, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. And freedom starts by freeing yourself from the false duty of always saying yes. Picture this, it's Friday. You've been running on back-to-back meetings, deadlines breathing down your neck, and all you want is a quiet night to reset. But your friend Alex texts, game night at my place. You in? You care about Alex? You've missed a few get-togethers already, so you feel that pull, the guilt, the fear of letting someone down. Here's where Stoicism steps in. A Stoic would say, what is in my control right now? Not Alex's disappointment. Not the social pressure. Just your response. So instead of ghosting or dragging yourself there half present and fully depleted, you say, hey Alex, thanks for the invite. I've been running on empty and really need a night to reset. Let's catch up next week? That's not selfish. That's self-respect in action. You don't owe anyone your exhaustion. You owe them your honesty. You're not a worse friend for saying no. You're a better one because you show up fully when you do say yes. Start small. Practice in low-pressure moments. A group chat invite? Say, appreciate it, but I'm limiting my screen time lately. A coworker asks for help with a project you don't have capacity for? Try, I'd love to support, but I'm maxed out this week. Let's circle back later. The battlefield isn't just in war zones, it's in inboxes, group chats, family dinners. Every yes you give without meaning chips away at your presence, your purpose. You can't fight every fire. You can't ride every wind. But you can choose your ground. And sometimes standing your ground means saying one small, sacred word. No. So ask yourself, where in my life am I saying yes out of fear, not choice? What would happen if I trusted that the right people will still be there when I speak my truth? What kind of peace could I create simply by not overpromising? You don't need permission to protect your energy. You just need the courage to use your voice. 3. Accept what you can't control. There's a moment in every life, and I mean every life, when you face the fire. Maybe it's the diagnosis you never expected, the job loss that came without warning, or the friend you loved like family turning their back on you. The battlefield doesn't always look like combat boots and gunfire. Sometimes it looks like silence after an argument, an unanswered text, an empty chair at the dinner table. Epictetus said, there is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. It sounds simple, but living it takes guts. Because letting go of control doesn't mean giving up. It means choosing what matters most. Peace over panic, clarity over chaos, and integrity over illusion. Years ago, I worked with a former Navy SEAL who lost 3 teammates in one mission. He told me the hardest battle wasn't out there in the field, it was learning to live with the guilt of surviving. He kept asking, what could I have done differently? Until one day his therapist said, you're carrying a burden that isn't yours to fix. That broke something open in him, and it saved his life. He told me later, I had to learn the hardest lesson of all. I can't control the past. I can only control how I carry it. Now think about your own life. Maybe it's not life or death. Maybe it's something more quiet but just as heavy. A friend you've tried to support again and again but they don't change. Or maybe you set a boundary, no more late-night venting calls, no more emotional dumping, and suddenly you're the villain. Jamie gets upset. Says you've changed. That you're distant. Here's what a Stoic would do, take a breath. And remember, I control my actions, not their reactions. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. So you look Jamie in the eye, or on the screen and say, I care about our friendship, but I need to prioritize my health right now. I'm still here for you, just in ways that don't leave me depleted. That's not weakness. That's leadership, of the most personal kind. Control is a mirage. The economy, your reputation, your loved ones' choices, all of it can shift like wind through a canyon. But your responses? Your breath, your words, your next step? That's your fortress. That's your fire to command. Dr. Edith Eger, Holocaust survivor, clinical psychologist, once said, "Suffering is universal, but victimhood is optional." She didn't mean we should toughen up and ignore our pain. She meant, don't hand your identity over to things you can't control. Reclaim your power by choosing your response, even in hell. So here's something practical. Write down this phrase and post it somewhere you see daily. I control my actions, not their reactions. Keep it on your desk, your phone, your bathroom mirror. And when the storm hits, because it will, anchor yourself to that truth. You'll find that when you stop trying to steer the wind, you can finally learn how to sail. And in that moment, you're not just surviving, you're living with purpose on your terms. Ask yourself, what weight am I carrying today that doesn't belong to me? Where in my life am I trying to control the uncontrollable? And how would it feel to let it go? If peace is a choice, what's stopping me from choosing it right now? Let it go. Not because you're weak, but because you're ready to be free. 4. Communicate clearly and kindly. Clear and kind communication isn't some soft, optional extra. It's a discipline, just like physical training or financial planning. It's how we turn friction into understanding and tension into growth. Marcus Aurelius said, "Kindness is invincible." Not weakness. Invincible. But it only works if it's paired with clarity. I've seen more relationships collapse under the weight of what's unsaid than what's shouted. Silence in this context isn't golden. It's corrosive. Take this real example. Chris, your friend, keeps borrowing money. $20 here, 50 there. He's always got a story, always means to pay you back. But he doesn't. And you? You let it slide at first. You tell yourself, he's going through a hard time. He'll come through. But over time, trust erodes like rust on steel. And resentment? It festers. A Stoic wouldn't let that poison linger. They'd face it, directly but without malice. Seneca wrote, "A quarrel is quickly settled when deserted by one party. There is no battle unless there be two. So don't come in swinging. Come in steady. Try this. Chris, I've noticed you haven't repaid the money I lent you. I value our friendship and I don't want money to be something that damages it. So moving forward, I'm not going to lend money, but I'm still here for you in other ways." That's clear. That's respectful. That's Stoic. We're not responsible for how people feel about the truth, but we are responsible for how we deliver it. That's where the fire meets the forge, when you speak with both backbone and heart. This isn't just theory. I've used this exact approach in business negotiations and family disputes, even during a moment when I had to confront a mentor about a broken promise. Every time the same rule applied: be clear. Be kind. Don't flinch. Brené Brown, a research professor who spent decades studying vulnerability and courage, said it best. Clear is kind. Unclear is unkind. So here's your step. Before you enter a tough conversation, write it down. Use this formula. I've noticed behavior. I value what's meaningful. Going forward, I need boundary. Then practice it. Say it out loud. Make it yours. That way, when the moment comes, you won't be improvising with emotion. You'll be acting with intention. Ask yourself, am I avoiding discomfort at the cost of clarity? Or what's more important, temporary ease or long-term respect? How would it feel to finally say what needs to be said without fear or apology? Good communication doesn't guarantee you'll get the response you want, but it guarantees you'll walk away with integrity intact. And sometimes, that's the only thing that keeps a relationship, or your peace of mind, standing. 5. Protect your emotional energy. Protecting your emotional energy isn't selfish, it's survival. In a world that constantly pulls at your attention and empathy, learning to guard your inner calm is an act of self-respect. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Look, life isn't a gentle stream. It's more like a battlefield, bullets flying in the form of urgent texts, collapsing deadlines, personal crises that aren't even yours. And too often we walk into that fire unarmored, carrying other people's burdens like they're medals of honor. But empathy without boundaries? That's a recipe for burnout. Imagine this, your friend Taylor calls again. Same story, different week. She's overwhelmed, the world's against her, and you're her emotional dumping ground. At first you listen. You care. But slowly you notice something. After every call you're tense, drained. You snap at your partner. You can't focus at work. And here's the brutal truth. you're not helping Taylor. You're just absorbing her chaos. Epictetus warned us, when someone irritates you, it is your own response that is the problem. That response includes allowing your energy to be consumed by things you cannot fix. A Stoic doesn't walk away from people, they walk toward clarity. That might sound like, Taylor, I care about you. But I've realized I'm not in the best place to take on all this right now. Maybe we can catch up once a week, or I can help you find someone who's better equipped to talk this through. That's not rejection. That's discipline with heart. That's choosing to be a steady fire, not a wildfire that burns out. Former Navy SEAL and author Jocko Willink put it bluntly, discipline equals freedom. Emotional discipline gives you freedom from guilt, from exhaustion, from the weight of problems that aren't yours to carry. So here's something simple you can do today. Do an emotional energy audit. Grab a pen. Make a list of the people you interact with most. Next to each name, write how you feel after spending time with them. Uplifted? Centered? Or drained? Resentful? Now ask yourself, what relationships feel reciprocal, and which ones feel like emotional extraction? Where can I draw firmer boundaries, not out of anger, but out of love for my own stability? Am I helping this person, or enabling their chaos? You can't show up for others if you're constantly bleeding energy. You can't be the lighthouse if your own flame is dying. Protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. And every time you say no to unnecessary drama, you're saying yes to the version of yourself that can endure the storms with grace. 6. Surround yourself with virtuous friends. Surrounding yourself with virtuous friends isn't just good advice. It's a cornerstone of living a meaningful, resilient life. Seneca put it simply, associate with people who are likely to improve you. Think of your social circle as the soil where your character grows. If that soil is rocky or poisoned with negativity, no matter how much water or light you give yourself, your roots won't take hold. Life is a battlefield, and the company you keep are your comrades. Are they the kind who stand firm with you when the winds of change blow hard, or do they falter and drag you down into the mud? The Stoics remind us that virtue is contagious. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When your friends embody integrity, courage, and kindness, those values seep into your own being. But here's the hard truth. Sometimes your current friend group doesn't lift you up, they weigh you down. Maybe they're caught in cycles of complaining, envy, or petty drama. You notice your own spirit dulling after spending time with them. That's not weakness, it's clarity. Epictetus advised, don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. If your friends don't reflect your values, you don't need to make a grand exit, but you can choose where to invest your energy. Ask yourself, who in my circle challenges me to be better? Who supports me in moments of failure or loss without judgment? Whose presence feels like a calm fire amid life's storms? Consider the story of a CEO I know who, after a tough business failure, realized her closest confidants were more about gossip than growth. She intentionally shifted her time toward mentors and peers who embodied resilience and focus. The difference wasn't just in her mood, it changed her trajectory. If you're facing illness, grief, or career setbacks, having a virtuous friend by your side is like having a shield in the heat of battle. Their presence doesn't erase pain but gives you a space to breathe and rebuild. Here's a practical step. Identify 1 or 2 friends who inspire you with their character. Maybe they show kindness without needing praise, or pursue goals with quiet discipline. Reach out this week. Invite them for a walk, a coffee, or a phone call. Make these connections intentional. Over time, this reshapes your inner world. Remember, you are the average of the company you keep. Choose wisely for your spirit's sake. As the military strategist and author Jocko Willink says, discipline starts with the people you surround yourself with. Are your comrades on the battlefield helping you stand tall or pushing you into the mud? 7. Let go of toxic connections. You want to talk about living with purpose in a world that's constantly trying to pull you under? Let's get real. Life's a battlefield, and not the kind with neat lines and clear enemies. It's chaotic, like a storm rolling in off the Pacific, tossing everything you thought you knew into disarray. Stoicism isn't just some dusty philosophy from old Greeks and Romans. It's a lifeline, a way to stand firm when the ground's shaking beneath you. It's about knowing what's in your control and what's not, then pouring every ounce of your soul into the former while letting the latter blow past like a gust of wind. Marcus Aurelius, a guy who ruled an empire while wrestling his own demons, said it best, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That's not abstract. It's a call to arms for anyone staring down a diagnosis, a pink slip, or an empty chair at the dinner table. Take a guy like Jocko Willink, a Navy SEAL turned leadership guru. He talks about extreme ownership, owning every choice, every outcome, no matter how brutal. That's Stoic to the core. Imagine you're a 30-something in Chicago, just lost your job in tech. The market's tanked, your rent's due, and the voice in your head screaming you're a failure. A Stoic doesn't wallow. You sit down, grab a pen, and list what you can control: your skills, your hustle, your mindset. You update your resume, hit up your network, maybe even take a gig outside your comfort zone. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. The fear of failure stings worse than the failure itself." So, you ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen if I keep moving forward? Then you move. Now, picture a different fight, say losing someone you love. The grief's like a fire that won't go out, burning through every quiet moment. Epictetus, a former slave who knew a thing or two about loss, said, "What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears." He's not saying don't feel the pain, he's saying don't let it own you. I knew a woman, a Marine vet in her 40s, who lost her brother to addiction. She could have drowned in anger or guilt, but she chose to channel it. She started volunteering at a recovery center, turning her pain into purpose. That's Stoicism, taking the raw material of life's suffering and forging something meaningful. Ask yourself, what can I build from this hurt? Maybe it's a conversation with someone struggling, maybe it's just getting out of bed today. Small wins stack up. Then there's the trap of toxic connections, people who drain you like a slow leak in a tire. Strategy 7 nails it: let them go. But let's dig deeper. Imagine you're a young professional in LA surrounded by folks who seem to have it all. Instagram perfect lives, big talk, no substance. You're trying to grow, but they're pulling you into drama or negativity. Ryan Holiday, a modern Stoic writer, puts it like this: you cannot hang out with negative people and expect to live a positive life. So, you audit your circle. Picture a guy named Mike, always complaining, always tearing you down when you share your dreams. You don't need to ghost him, but you can set boundaries. Try this. "Mike, I'm focusing on some personal goals right now, so I'm gonna need some space." Then invest in people who lift you up. Maybe a mentor, maybe a coworker who's got your back. Ask, who in my life makes me better and who's holding me back? Be ruthless about the answer. Life's not about dodging the storm, it's about learning to walk through it. When I think of Angela Duckworth, the psychologist behind Grit, I see someone who gets this. She talks about passion and perseverance, but it's Stoic at heart. Keep going even when the odds suck. Say you're facing a health scare, cancer maybe, or something chronic. The fear's real, but panicking won't change the diagnosis. A Stoic leans in. You research your options, talk to doctors, maybe find a support group. You focus on what you can do today: eat better, rest, show up for treatment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." So you live. You call your kids, you take that walk in the park, you savor the coffee in your cup. What's one thing you can do right now to feel alive despite the wait? The beauty of Stoicism is it's not about being a superhero. It's about being human, flawed, scared, but still moving forward. It's the single mom in Atlanta working 2 jobs, still finding time to read to her kids because she controls her priorities. It's the veteran in Texas battling PTSD, choosing therapy over silence because he owns his healing. It's you staring down whatever's trying to break you, asking, what's in my control today and how can I make it count? The answers aren't flashy, but they're solid. They're the kind of truths that stick like a good pair of boots in the mud. 8. Cultivate inner peace daily. Life's like a river. Sometimes it's calm, sometimes it's a raging torrent trying to sweep you away. Stoicism teaches you to build a dam inside yourself, not to stop the flow but to channel it so you don't drown. Strategy 8, cultivating inner peace daily, is about tending to that dam every single day. Marcus Aurelius nailed it: the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Your mind is your fortress, and if you don't reinforce it, the chaos of the world, deadlines, betrayals, or even your own doubts, will breach the walls. Picture a 20-something barista in Seattle, juggling student loans and a breakup. The world feels heavy, like a fog that won't lift. A Stoic doesn't wait for the fog to clear, they light a fire within. Start small. Every morning, grab a notebook and jot down 3 things you're grateful for. Maybe it's the smell of coffee beans, a text from a friend, or just waking up with a chance to try again. This isn't fluffy self-help nonsense. It's rewiring your brain to see the good amidst the grind. Angela Duckworth, the psychologist who wrote Grit, talks about deliberate practice, small, consistent efforts that compound. Gratitude is like that, a daily rep that builds emotional muscle. Ask yourself, what's one thing today that's worth appreciating even if it's small? Now think about a veteran in his 50s back from deployment, struggling with nightmares that won't quit. The world outside might look fine, but inside it's a war zone. Epictetus, who knew what it meant to endure, said, "There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will." You can't erase the past, but you can choose where your mind lingers. Try this. Set aside 5 minutes each evening to reflect. Write down one moment where you held your ground. Maybe you didn't snap at a coworker, or you chose to breathe instead of spiral when a memory hit. This isn't about ignoring pain, it's about anchoring yourself in what you control. That vet might find peace in noting he showed up for his kid's soccer game despite the noise in his head. What's one choice you made today that protected your calm? Or take a tech entrepreneur in Silicon Valley, burned out from the hustle, always chasing the next big win. The pressure's like a wildfire, consuming everything if you let it. Seneca wrote, "You must linger among a limited number of master thinkers and digest their works, if you would derive ideas which shall win firm hold in your mind. Instead of scrolling X for validation, carve out time to sit with your thoughts. Try a Stoic meditation. Close your eyes, picture your worries as leaves floating down that river. Let them drift without chasing them." Elon Musk, for all his chaos, has talked about the need to think deeply to solve problems. Inner peace isn't about escaping the world, it's about creating space to think clearly so you can act wisely. Ask, what's one distraction I can let go of today to make room for clarity? Daily habits like these aren't magic, they're discipline. A single mom in Philly working retail and raising 2 kids doesn't have time for hour-long mindfulness sessions. But she can pause for a minute before her shift, take 3 deep breaths and remind herself, "I'm here, I'm enough." That's Stoicism in action. Practical, grounded, real. It's not about feeling zen all the time, it's about building a core so solid that when life's winds howl, you don't topple. Brené Brown, the vulnerability researcher, says courage starts with showing up for yourself. That's your daily Stoic practice. Show up, reflect, choose what strengthens you. What's one small habit you can start tonight to guard your peace? Stoicism isn't just ancient wisdom, it's your shield against life's chaos. It's about owning your mind, standing firm in your values, and finding peace no matter what hits you. Whether it's toxic relationships, crushing work stress, or the weight of loss, you can choose to live with purpose. Start today, take one step, say no to what drains you, write down what you're grateful for, or just breathe and let go of what you can't control. This is just the beginning. Hit subscribe, like, and share how you're applying Stoicism in the comments. We're building a community to face life's storms together. Try one strategy from this video in the next 24 hours and come back next week for more ways to live boldly. You've got this.